I'm pleased to welcome to the studio Suman Golamudi, Executive Director of Indo-American Arts Council, Satish Kolari, Associate Professor at Pace University, who is also in the Festival Programming Committee, and Aseem Chabra, film journalist, author, Festival moderator, who is also the Festival Director of New York Indian Film Festival. The festival, which is running this week virtually and is in its 22nd glorious year. North America's oldest and most prestigious film festival, which features cinema from both India and the Indian diaspora. Pleasure to have you guys at the ITV Gold studio. For the first time, the Cannes film market has an official country of honor, which is none other than India this year. How proud do you guys feel?
Well, I'm actually going to Cannes next week, so I'm really excited about that. And I was telling my colleague Suman that there's going to be a panel on Indian film festivals, and I'm actually moderating a conversation there. So
wow.
I'll be very proud because I'll talk about the New York Indian Film Festival there.
Of course. I was about to ask, what role do you feel you have had in promoting Indian films abroad and at festivals such as Cannes?
So, leaving aside Cannes separately, our film festival has all these years focused in the US, especially New York, before we went virtual. This was the first Indian film festival, as you said, started in North America 22 years ago. Originally, it focused on films, especially from the diaspora, but over the years, it's become much more of a festival that celebrates independent cinema in India, and also films being made in the diaspora, and also films made by non-Indians with subject matters are related to India. We on our own, without wanting to brag or something like that, our whole goal has been to bring Indian cinema that doesn't get a chance to be explored here in this country, doesn't get theatrical releases, and to share it with our audiences, which New Yorkers mostly, but now as we've gone virtual across the US.
So Aseem, you have attended like hundreds of film festivals. What virtues from select festivals or the replica model did you apply to NYIFF?
Well, but New York Indian Film Festival has evolved by its own. It's not like we were trying to sort of get a replica of in other festivals. We specifically wanted to bring films which are in different languages in India. This year, for instance, we have 13 Indian films, 13 films in 13 different languages. We wanted to bring, as I said earlier, films that people cannot see otherwise. That's very, very important because big Bollywood films get theatrical releases. They also get streaming releases. These films that we bring often don't even go on streaming platforms these days because streaming platforms become very, very competitive. This year, for instance, we have 18 narrative films. We have 60 films in total, but we have 18 narrative films, out of which 10 of them are by first-time filmmakers, and we've just instituted an award, our debut filmmakers. So our goal is to encourage new voices and to share those new voices with the audiences in the US.
So coming to you, Suman, what is the percentage of filmmakers from India, from the US and around the world?
We have a lot of filmmakers coming from everywhere. Of course, we are a New York City based festival, so you see a lot of talent coming from USA. But we also have a bulk of our filmmakers who come from India who want to show it. We have a great platform here in the film festival, Indian Film Festival in New York. So they obviously want to show their film to this audience and to expand their reach. So we have both, I have to say.
But in terms of percentage, like from US, how many people would be there?
I would say we have a lot more short films, short filmmakers here. I wouldn't give a number, put out a number there, but I think we have, let's say 50%, maybe.
Probably in that ballpark, basically. But the large number of films are actually coming from India. And then there's some filmmakers that sort of travel between India and the US also, so we don't know where they're based, really.
So how challenging is it to curate films virtually and marketing the festival, third year in a row, I believe?
It has been challenging in the sense that the charm of having an in-person festival is lost because you get to meet the directors, the filmmakers, the cast and the crew, and have a Q&A in person. But the shift has been necessary But I think as a festival, we have adapted ourselves pretty well in terms of hosting them virtually, and also it's kind of become convenient to use the virtual platform to have Q&As with directors who can zoom in from India or from London, and then so it's kind of convenient, but at the same time it's not quite the same as having an in-person.
There's some kind of lazy filmmaking as well, because people started using their smartphones and they're still continuing that.
Yes, but also I must say that it's been incredible that given the pandemic, we have been overwhelmed with the number of submissions this year. We got more than 220.
Wow.
So you can imagine the courage of filmmakers to go out there and make films despite the circumstances. It's just been incredible, absolutely, yeah.
So talk about some proteges, first-time festival participants or winners who've made it big, other names to reckon with today.
Well, Nagaraj Manchule, for instance, we showed his first film, Fandry, and his third film with Amitabh Bachchan, I think it's called Jund. So that's just one example coming to my mind. We were one of the early film festivals to show. Rajan DK become huge, with Family Man and everything. As you know, we opened our festival with Shore in the City. That was their third film, I think. Even somebody like Anurag Kashyap, I mean, we showed Gulal. Even Gangs of Wasipur, which hadn't exploded the way it eventually did. He brought a Blu-ray of the film from the Cannes Film Festival, basically. So Hansal Mehta, who's become very, very big. I mean, we showed his film Shahid, and he won the Best Director award, I remember, at the festival. And since then, Hansal has, become big in films, and also he did Scam 92, which became a big blockbuster, sort of a show as such. So, there's so many filmmakers, and the other very interesting thing happens. I mentioned Hansal Mehta. Hansal Mehta met Madhav Kaul, an actor, at one of our festivals,
2009,
and they ended up started talking together, and then Hansal ended up casting Madhav Kaul. Meera Nair met an actress and loved her. Her name is escaping my mind. Eventually cast her in Monsoon Wedding, the musical, for instance. So one of the things that happens at a festival is that if you can have well-known filmmakers like Meera Nair present there, they're also looking around to see where is the talent, and so we give that space, we open up the space for ideas and filmmakers to sort of meet up and exchange and find young talent.
So you feel very proud. These are like first-time filmmakers, and you handpicked them.
I guess I should feel proud, really. I've been doing this job. Satish has been with me for a very, very long time. Satish and I were both in the programming committee, and then for the last 11, 12 years now, I became the festival director. But we are equal partners, really.
But it's, it is really incredible just to see 25-year-olds, make films that feel like you're watching someone who, like a director who maybe is a veteran. So it's just incredible how filmmaking has changed. And also it's the buzz of the festival that travels now really fast to India. So it's really competitive. Our festival is very competitive. It's really difficult to get into our festival.
You teach films, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever attempted to make a film?
No, I did a film course, being part of a documentary film, but I did act in one feature film, Indian August or English August. English August, sorry. Indian American, I forget the name, whatever it is. It was shot in Massachusetts, but it was what we call a friendly appearance. But I basically was the production guy for the whole, I hosted them on Mount Holyoke campus.
Wow.
So it was a campus film. But otherwise, no, it's just been doing Q&As. I teach film, I teach Bollywood and Hong Kong cinema. So 2 weeks ago I showed Badai Do, and Asim zoomed in from Delhi. And so our Q&A with the class. So absolutely. And sometimes I share festival information. So they probably at least 4 or 5 of them might turn up for the in-person.
Very nice. So, Asim, you've written books on Irfan, Shashi Kapoor, Priyanka Chopra. Any book in the pipeline on how to make a festival-worthy film?
Any book in the pipeline? No, I'm not going to write that book because that's my trade secret. Well, there's no such book in the pipeline, really. I mean, I've been on panels where people talk about programming. As I said, I'm going to be on a panel at the Cannes Film Festival next week also about film festivals and how to be programmed. But I'm not sure if there's a book there necessarily. we're always giving advice. And I honestly, again, I'm not sort of making it sound like we are very big, but I've heard from so many Indian film festivals in Europe and Stuttgart and all. They say they look at our programming, for instance,
Nice.
and then they go looking for the same films. Or
Yes.
many times they contact me and say, "Oh, this film sounds very
Exactly.
interesting. Can you contact me?" So we are sort of pioneers in that way. Also, there are many other film festivals around the world looking at Indian cinema, and somehow they're getting ideas from our films.
The Honorable Film Festival in Puducherry, in Pondicherry, they got in touch with us.
Yes.
And we suggested films, and then they came up with their own festival. And so it's nice. So our brand is, pretty popular, and
Very
then they
nice.
look to us for.
And this year we have an award also from the critics.
Yeah, so this year we instituted an award from the Film Critics Circle of India for a debut filmmaker. This is the first time we've done that, and then we have 10 films, again in different languages, really. And I think it's great because we often have films made by, I mentioned Hansal Mehta, for instance. If he has a next film and we like it, we'll show it. But he's made so many films. I mean, Hansal Mehta doesn't need to be promoted.
Yes.
He's so good in any case. But these other young filmmakers, if you can, just any sort of recognition. And likewise, even with the shorts that we have, I mean, so often many of these young filmmakers, they're so thrilled that their films are being shown because they've just made a film and they're getting an opportunity to somehow, even though it's a virtual festival, somehow reach the audience, which, in the US. And so we love facilitating that. I mean, it's not like we're, as I said, Satish and I've been doing it for so long that we're like the grandfathers of this operation. But we love doing that. We love.
But also to, you sometimes you get this feeling whether a film will click at the festival or not. So the first 10-15 minutes you kind of get a sense. And sometimes you're in for a surprise. I mean, the movie might start off very slowly and then you're in for a ride.
So you have a lot of patience while watching
Absolutely.
and
A
selecting.
lot of patience.
I don't know how they do it.
I remember almost every film that I watched. I remember what time I watched it. Was it at 5 in the
Wow.
morning?
Right.
I remember that because sometimes I wake up in the morning and say I have to go back to that film, and then I continue watching it. So it can be at 5 in the morning, 9 in the night, doesn't matter. There's no, so you keep going back to it, and
I remember once Asim said, I think he watched 370 some movies in a year, which means literally one movie every day, almost more than that.
Outside of the festival.
Outside of the
outside
festival.
I mean,
Yeah.
I also program another festival in Pittsburgh. I go to various film festivals. I'm just obsessed with watching films. If I've got nothing else to do, I'll watch a film.
Yeah.
So you're only watching festival films or like commercial films also you watch?
I do. I go see. I saw Gangubai in a theater in India. So I do see commercial films. In the pandemic, it's been very hard to go and it's risky. But if I can go, why not?
Of course. So what do you look for when you select a film?
I mean, it's the narrative, whether it is a kind of an independent film, an art house film, is it, got this commercial appeal to it, the actors, the directing. I mean, it's a lot of factors that go into it. Festival films are very different from commercial films. I mean,
Right.
you have to have a lot of patience watching it because time slows down. It's not the same thing where it's like 90 minutes or 1.5 hours you're done with it. So first-time directors, male, female. So we look for a lot of interesting aspects. So there is no particular protocol that we follow in order to pick a film. And sometimes we have disagreements. But sometimes we just are on the same page, and that is kind of very validating when we are on the same page and we feel, oh my God, yeah, we thought the same thing about this particular film. And especially with the closing night or the centerpiece, we just feel like, yeah, this will work. Yeah.
Okay. And since this is a virtual festival, do you have any workshops or any networking events going to be held virtually?
The Q&As?
Yeah, we have Q&As with some of the filmmakers, and actually it's a hybrid festival because our closing night film, The Beatles and India, it's actually a physical screening, and so quite a few of the filmmakers, there's some short filmmakers who are flying from India just to be there on the closing night. Wow. They've been nominated. They may or may not win. I told them I can't promise you. If you want to come, you're welcome to come. We'll have a red carpet. We'll have a networking event before that. There's an after party. So there's enough of a space. I mean, if it was actually a physical festival, we would have had a lot more.
Oh, we'd had the industry panel too.
Yeah, we would do a lot more of
We do
that.
a lot.
Networking.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, now I'm sure it'll come back next
Yeah.
year. We'll
Next
go back
year.
to the
Yeah.
same old.
We do a lot of, it's a great space for filmmakers to connect and network. That's a big thing here happening, especially for local, talent in the tri-state area. Then, there was one time we did this panel on distribution to help filmmakers. How do you distribute your film? And this was before the OTT platforms came in a big way. And then, so it's always interesting. And then the networking always happened. There's a lot of after parties. We used to do after every night, and then the short programs are super, very popular. So people would come in by 9 p.m., hang out till 12, watch like all of these shots
Right.
every night, and then head to an after party.
Great.
It's fun, and we can't wait to bring this back next year.
So there's no after party on the closing night?
There is an
There
after
is.
party
There
this
is.
year. There is.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Is there a future for independent films without film festivals?
Look, the film festivals definitely is a wonderful space for independent cinema, especially young filmmakers who have, even the producers, they don't have enough budgets to be able to market and promote. So if they can get into a film festival, get some buzz in the press in India or anywhere else and all, that really opens up a space for them. There are other film societies in India where films can be shown. The problem becomes that, although India is now packed with so many OTT platforms, most OTT platforms are focusing on films that, generate a lot of eyeballs. So Netflix and Amazon Prime, etc., they become impossible for independent filmmakers to go to. Therefore, if they can get into a film festival, and there's so many film festivals in India and outside, festivals focusing on Indian cinema and other general film festivals, that is the best route for them. And that is what they spend about a year going through the film festival route. And then if they can finally, get a theatrical release somewhere.
Like for instance, 8 out of 10 films on Netflix right now, Hindi or Telugu or Tamil, I've already seen them because we feature them at the festival.
Ah.
So they are now, being released. So, they buy it up and say, wow, we're so glad we programmed that festival.
Right.
So you feel validated that
Yeah.
Netflix or Amazon picked it up. Yeah.
So what kind of universal emotions color the canvas of contemporary filmmakers today in terms of socio-political or economic situation?
Dark.
Like
if I
some kind of a theme that you see in today's filmmakers.
They're very realistic, extremely realistic. See, the everything has changed. The story has changed. The macro story has changed. The micro stories are changing. Class, caste, everything comes into play. Sexuality. So the movies can be dark because when you're realistic, they can be a little dark. So yeah.
Is there a lot of clarity in today's filmmakers, or is it like a muddle?
No,
Lot of clarity.
But can I just, what Satish said, not all the films are necessarily dark. I mean, even this year, I'm sure we have a lot more likable, charming films, etc. I remember last year we had a film called Chicken Curry, which was a lovely film about a young boy who comes, sort of an adult in his early 20s, comes to visit his grandparents in a village in Karnataka, and they're going to make him a chicken curry, and the chicken gets stolen, for instance. And there are so many real life stories. Yes, they can be dark, but they're very, very positive and very happy also. Our closing night documentary, for instance, is a lovely documentary about the connection that the Beatles made with India. Our centerpiece, again, is a film called Longing, which is about a Sikh man who was a part of the Indian hockey team at the time of the partition. And so there was an Indian hockey team before 1947, and then the Indian hockey team after India was divided in 1948 when they won the gold medal in London, and their connection with some of the Pakistani players who they had played with. These are real life true stories that I think it's important to share, and people really connect with them.
That's true. So as curators, for you, does there ever come a time where all films look alike? How do you recharge yourself? Perhaps see some commercial cinema?
The question to me, I think.
All of you. Like, do you ever like it's too overwhelming? It's like the festival film is like a cult cinema, so to speak. It's different.
You know, it very rarely happens, and if it's something we've seen before, it feels like that, we move on. I mean, we are in constant communication, you know, because it's Satish, myself, and we have 4 other programming committee members. We have 6 of us. Couple of us are in India, a couple of the rest are in the US. We're always sharing ideas, but there's always something fresh and new we find, always, at all times. I mean,
And different languages.
and
Languages are different.
and,
Tamil,
yeah, and it's not, you know, so it's not like, you know, all independent films are like that. All mainstream films also, people can say they all start to sound alike. No, but these are such unique stories that I think if people, your audience would watch them, they will immediately relate to them. They'll immediately understand what's happening, because they're stories that it speaks to them. It's about their own personal lives in a lot of ways. And I think that's the best form of art. Very rarely we'll say like, oh, we've seen this before, you know, whatever it is. And there are films we don't like, we move on. You know, it's not like we stick to every film necessarily. But there are so many new, exciting voices that are happening. I mean, we get surprised as film festival programmers. So, I mean, we like to get surprised, and then we like to surprise our audience.
Yeah.
Right. But would you recommend some filmmakers the young filmmakers should watch?
Well, so I mentioned a couple of the documentaries. Some of the shots are absolutely brilliant. In fact, this year, for instance, it's not like we set out to do it. We ended up finding 7. We have 7 LGBT shots in different languages. There's one called My Mother's Girlfriend, which is in Marathi. There are some Hindi language things. There's an English language film also. Lovely shots. There's a shot called Succulent, which I just absolutely love.
Amrita Bagchi.
Say again?
The
Amrita Bagchi. Yeah. It's a beautiful short film. The features, you know, we have a film called Shoebox, which is a beautiful story about about a woman who's trying to connect with her father, but it's also about new and old times happening. You know, Allahabad as a city sort of changing. We have a film set in Varanasi called Jeeni Beeni Chadariya, about a Muslim weaver who gets very close with an Israeli tourist who's visiting Varanasi. Range, I mean, Godavari, which is our opening night film, which unfortunately is only playing for the first 3 days. It's a lovely Marathi language film set in Nasik, about a man and an issue of faith and family and life like that. Beautiful moving film. It's so beautifully shot, really. I wish, you know, more people would watch it before it, you know, it ends its run.
I know.
So yeah, there are so many films. I mean, Once Upon a Time in Calcutta, I think is a lovely film. We went to the Venice Film Festival, about how Calcutta or Kolkata changing. This is before Mamata Banerjee's political party had taken power, and sort of the mood, the city was changing. It's about the time when internet was coming into Calcutta. And again, old ways and new ways, city life is changing, how it's impacting individual people. So, range of films.
Great. Looking forward to that.
It's also a very blurred line between mass appeal and critic appeal. I feel that a lot of filmmakers are turning into true to life stories. You know, some very, very personable stories that they've all experienced, and so it's slice of life. You know.
I know.
Stuff.
That's a nice phrase, slice of life.
Yeah.
Any closing statement?
Nothing. I just encourage everyone to support the festival, watch the best of Indian cinema, and we are convinced that we have to offer the best of Indian cinema, produced, made in the last 1 year. So I would urge everyone to support us and watch the films. Yeah.
It is, we bring this. It's a sneak peek into what will be very popular movies down the line. Audiences get to watch these films very early on, and most of these will go on to expand in theaters, a couple of months or a couple of years later. And for the film goer, the fans of Indian cinema, this is a treat to watch all these acclaimed and great movies at a really fraction of the cost it would take, and early on before the theater run.
Of course. Asim?
We have a Sanskrit film this year, which I'm very, very proud of. I think it's called Bhadavajakum. It's based on an ancient story. It's a very, very charming, funny film. And it's the first time we actually had a submission in Sanskrit language.
Wow.
And we actually liked it. And I didn't even know there were films being made in Sanskrit. I really want people to watch it, and they watch it with their kids. By the way, and we're talking about kids. There are two very family-focused kids films. There's one's called Gandhi and Company, which is in Gujarati, and an Assamese film called Boomba Ride, which are both, again, children will love it, but families will also love it. I mean, that's very, very important for us.
It's very exciting. Any closing comments?
I'm just, thrilled because, we spend a lot of time working. I mean, almost 6-7 months watching films, selecting films, going back and forth in terms of conversations and all. And now is the time when the films are there and it's for the audience to watch. And please do, because you will not be able to see these kind of films, and you will really, I think people will have the time of their lives, because this kind of an experience of watching good cinema, and it's not like boring art house films. They're joyful films. They are real, true stories. They'll recognize many of the shots. They'll recognize well-known actors. We have a lovely shot called The Daughter with Nasiruddin Shah, for instance. People should, experiment, try some of the films they've not heard of, read up about them, and watch them, because they're available until the 14th of May online.
So thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you, Nidhi.
And I'll be there at the closing night. I wish all you guys should attend the virtual screening as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nidhi.
Thank you.